I think the meeting was supposed to be happening sometime in the morning, so I should have been saying good morning, but now it's almost lunchtime. So this is going to be a very quick, short one. I don't know whether I'll be able to do justice to the whole thing, but still. Uh, So this is about elevating e-commerce. I mean, we have been seeing e-commerce for the last 20 years. I mean, 2 decades probably since Amazon got in. And what more can all of us do in e-commerce? I think everybody is copying everyone else and becoming. There's no differentiation between one another these days. So in that kind of a situation, and where retail is actually performing at an amazing speed in terms of you make an order and you get stuff delivered in the next half an hour to probably 1 hour. So what more can be disrupted in retail? That's the space that we will be talking about. So I think it is required for us to think a little beyond the e-commerce, traditional e-commerce way of thinking. Now, we call it as consumer commerce. Now, to get to that, for me to explain why is e-commerce and also how to do this, I think it is important for us to really abstract the retail that happens today in at a very macro level. Now, if you really, retail today means nothing but, we have products or services to sell. So let's say, we have a product, then we need channels to sell. I'm just abstracting retail. It's nothing new. It's not that none of you know about it. But so we have channels to sell, and we need now consumers to come to these channels. Now, once you have those channels, then we'll have to actually do whatever that's possible to keep them with the brand or the retailer. So that's pretty much about the retail today. And if that's the case, it's a perspective of retail from the retailer's point of view. Now, if we flip the story and ask the same question to the consumer on the other side, what does he feel about retail? And what is retailing for him? And where does the retail really start? What's the point of origin of retail? Now, if you really look at it from that angle, so let me take it to a story where these two beautiful kids who are playing there, and the mother is thinking, oh, had I had a camera, probably I would have actually frozen that moment. And that's where the retail for her actually started. It originated in her mind, those micro impulsive moments. And are these retailers today, is all of us capturing those moments? Are we in a position to get that close to the micro impulsive moments of the consumers? In my view, many brands fail in this. Largely, we can say that we can generalize and say that we fail in that part of the world. Now, when that micro moment happens in her mind, what are the other steps? And how, before she gets to the retail part of it, what are the other steps? She's constantly engaged in understanding and building knowledge around what she wants to buy, either a product or services, or she probably wants to get some consulting and so on. So now, in that, it's a constant cycle. Barring the essentials category, so let's move it to the general merchandising, or probably, if you take any high consideration space of retail, generally it takes about few days to few months, and we all know about it. And during those times, do we think the retailers can ever sense this consumer and the intent that the consumer has? No, absolutely not, because we have one website or one mobile or one digital templatized experience, channel, as well as a store channel, wherein unless and until the consumer shows up into one of those channels, that's the only time retailers understands anything about the consumer. And that too, a little bit of what they type in the search keyword. That's all what we know about the intent of the consumer. So that's not enough. The next in retail is in terms of when you are able to live in those micro impulsive moments with those consumers, that's when you really win the game. That means every retailer should be able to live and win the largest share of a consumer life. It's not just not the intent expression alone. It should be beyond that. Now, if you really look at it, there are two aspects. One is the retail side of the world and the consumer side of the world. Now, if you try to get the retailer as close to the consumer at the point of origin of the need, then we can probably call it as a consumer commerce. It's a space of the domain of commerce and domain of consumer, and that we call it as the consumer commerce. And that's the new thing that's probably going to happen. And today's retail stops at here. You have all these channels, but beyond these channels, even though we call it as omni-channel, it is still not omni-channel in so many forms. And from there, if you really want to take your journey to the consumer's friend, wherein you really want to sense that consumer, the consumer has to really trust the brand. Why would I come to you? So from today's approach of selling better, a retailer has to change themselves into that of enhancing life and experience of the consumers and make her take the right decisions. And how do you actually help her make the right decision? Because she should. Does anyone trust the retailer as much as probably they trust the subject matter expert or any other friends and families or other sources like YouTube and Google and social and so on and so on? So how do we take that? How do you take your community, your brand into the space, into the living room of every consumer? In this, you have to reimagine your current current channel experiences and create something called a consumer store, wherein we call it a C store. So wherein she's now able to reduce that length, the first part of her journey, wherein she has to constantly upgrade her knowledge and seek advices and so on. So from there, she's now going to do all of that by able to use the community from your own existing consumer base, and also by including the influencers and subject matter experts into your ecosystem. So it's a different way of looking at creating that experience and rendering through one single channel. So avoiding the channel confusion. Like say, I went to the store and I had a great guy at the store. I spoke to that guy. He was able to help me choose the product that I want. But unfortunately, the product was not there and I was traveling somewhere else. Now when I go into the website to search for the same thing, I forgot about the product. And does the search actually start from the place where I started on one of the other channels? No, it doesn't. So between channels, the integration is not that seamless as we think, and that's the space that we are talking about. And this is the new loyalty part of it, wherein you are getting your own consumers to become the advocates of selling and buying products. So now, in order to do this, I mean, to get you to take your e-commerce into one single channel that can give you a digital pass to your stores as well as any other channels that you have, and you're still recognized, there are a lot of stuff that need to be done. But then the good thing is, whatever that we need to do it on top of the e-commerce side of it. So those who already have an e-commerce, it's very easy to make it happen. And in this process, once you do that, she is now being able to search for solutions rather than products alone, because product is at the fag end of the wish spectrum. So now she might be, in this case, she wants to buy a camera. That means she has to learn a lot around that. And in this case, it's not just the camera alone. Probably she needs 10 other stuff. So all of that solution search, that's now easy to make it happen. And then in this, again, becomes a pass to all your channels. It also helps her reduce her decision-making process. That's the critical piece. I mean, the decision-making is the biggest challenge for any consumer, and that's what you're actually trying to reduce it in this space. Now, how do we make this happen? I mean, so there is always, on the x-axis on the top, what you see there is a demand from the consumer. In the research that we have done, the demand from the consumer is it's always been the case. I mean, consumer wants the retailers to understand them quite very well, and that's not happening. And the only thing that they're able to communicate is through the wish expressions, that is tokens that are coming in, and also the filters and stuff like that you select. But it's beyond that. I mean, I want to go for a marriage is the need. It's not just the sari or something else. So from that, I mean, how do you help me make the right decisions? That's the second one. And ultimately, I walk out from this by minimizing the length of duration that I have the duration of time that I spent with you as a brand. And now, if that's the case, what kind of operational capabilities retailers need? That's on the left side, on the y-axis. And now, if that's the case, how do you now run this e-commerce journey? I mean, so it starts from the progressive wish assimilation, wherein across channels, whatever that you learn, whatever that you express, it actually progressively transferred to different channels seamlessly. And she doesn't have to repeat the same story again and again, whichever channel she goes in or whatever time she comes back to any of those channels. And it starts from there, and there are a ton of things to be done, but these are some of the core solutions that need to be plugged into your existing e-commerce system to convert and make your channel a channel agnostic experience. And now, I'm running short of time, so I'm just moving forward. So with that, the thing that you'll actually achieve at the end of the day is a transactional consumer who's walking into your store is going to be elevated into an interactive one and finally to an intimate one. And this is finally the retailer is now showing a value that I care for you. And I'm here to make you take the right decision. So that's where it goes and essentially makes all the retailers to change their perspective of the consumer around the retailer from that of a selling better to that of a buying better one. I mean, make me take the right decisions. And in the process, we changed the way the loyalty programs work today. The loyalties of today are become a liability, and that's going to change. The channel confusions are going to be changed. The consumer now has one access to all of it, and he can actually, without knowing the different kind of channels, he can actually complete his shopping from there. And the way retailers look at their consumer now changes. They are not just consumers anymore, they are brand advocates because you have made them create your store in their mobile. So with that, I end my presentation. So that's the world towards consumer commerce, and wish you all a happy retailing.